Tonight's a big meeting night, so I'm rushing from meeting to meeting. So how is everybody doing? It's nice to see it's so hot.
So hot.
Yeah. Okay, the gale's coming on. All right, so quite a bit of information to share tonight. Basically a lot of updates. First we'll go around briefly and just do some introductions. I see we may have one new person here with us. So I'll start, and my name is Johanna Rasmussen, and I'm the chair of the Neighborhood Association, and I've lived in Farm Hill for 17 years. And with my husband, Chris. Yeah. Okay, and who would like to go next?
I can go next. I'm Regina Cape. I live on Crompton. I've lived here since 2005.
Thank you, Regina. Jerry.
Jerry Brick, also on Crompton. We've been here for, I guess, 35, maybe going on 40 years.
Thank you so much. Gail, would you like to go next?
Sure. Gail Barton, and I live on Highland, and it's next year's 30 years. I better have a party.
Wow, that's great. James.
Yeah, I'm on. Yes, James Stafford. I live up on Farm Hill Boulevard, right by Silver Hill Road. And my wife is feeding the dog. She'll be back here in a few minutes. But yeah, we've been here for just about 10 years.
That's great. Thanks so much. Phil?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Linda and Phil. We live on Midfield near Altamont. We've been here for about 20 years.
That's great.
I've been here 20 years. Okay. Just a few years less.
I've been here about 15, I guess.
Okay, well, it's so great to have you. Thank you for coming. And John, do you want to introduce yourself, John? John O'Hara?
I'd actually like to make a correction. I've lived in Redwood City since 1975.
He was there earlier.
Yeah.
John chatted with him briefly. It must be away right now.
Okay, Darren, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, my name is Darren Aston. I'm the communications and community engagement analyst for the city. So I'm a liaison to the neighborhood associations.
Good.
Well, we're happy to have you. So yeah, so Darren took over Amanda's position. So he is taking over that role. So it's very nice to see everybody on this very, very warm evening. And thank you for taking some time to be with us tonight. So I want to start right off with, let me see if I should share my screen here for the agenda. See, can everyone see that okay? Can everyone see the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, and I've just included my notes here because I have my usual companion who helps me is in another meeting. So Chris isn't able to help. Okay. So I want to start off with the Redwood City Fire Department. Many people may have seen either on Nextdoor or social media that our city is at a stalemate right now with our firefighters. Today is day number 280. That they've been working without a contract. And as most of you know, Farm Hill, we've always been very big supporters of the fire department. We live in the highest risk fire zone in the city. And we were actually even talking about doing drills and evacuation drills just prior to COVID. So fire is something, fireworks and fire is a top issue in our neighborhood. And we've always been very supportive of the fire department and our firefighters. So what I understand the current issues to be is that they've been chronically understaffed for many years. And I know that that's basically how the city has been operating in all departments, really. Human resources, no matter who you talk to, they've been running skeleton crew even prior to COVID. So when COVID hit, there was really not much room for cuts. So that's kind of, so chronic staffing shortages that led to overtime shifts, mandatory overtime shifts. So you work 2 days, you're getting ready to go home, but you have to stay. You're mandatory to stay and work those extra shifts. which caused impacted families and marriages. And I understand there's even been a couple divorces. What is up for debate is whether or not when the contract is decided, whether or not the benefits will be retroactive. So traditionally, during the negotiation phase, both sides sort of know that when it does settle, whatever the 1%, 2% raise will go retroactively to the date of when the last contract expired. And that's been a good faith bargaining tool that's been used in most of, I know it's been done at the police department for all the years that Chris was there. And I also know that retroactive was something that the city manager was entitled to when she received her huge raise recently. So those are the issues that, as I understand them to be, we did receive some COVID-19 funds that have allowed the city to hire more firefighters, but from what I understand, they are in arbitration and they are awaiting a decision. So it's very, as a resident myself, and property taxes are due in a couple of days, as everybody knows, it's very disheartening to see that during the pandemic, the wildfires are getting worse and worse every year, that we're not taking care of our firefighters. So that is the current situation. As many also know, we passed that sales tax in 2018 that the city had ensured us was necessary in order to fund public safety. And we've raised over $20 million in funds since that began. And that money so far has not gone to public safety. So that's another bone of contention. So does anyone have any questions, or does anyone have any comments, or is there any information that you want to share as a group regarding what's happening with the fire department?
Are they actively working to try and iron the differences out, or what?
Yes, so they've actually been working this whole time. Both sides have been actively working, and then they actually went to arbitration. So right now they're waiting a decision from the arbiter, and I don't know how long. I don't know if it's like there's a set time frame of when that's coming. I think it can basically come any day. Darren might know a little bit more about that timeline, but they have presented their cases, and we're waiting that decision.
I'm not too sure about the timeline, but that's something I can definitely follow back up with to let you guys know.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments? I know that the main bone of contention wasn't necessarily the raise. It was more the staffing and the mandatory overtime, and then the retroactive benefits. So I know that the Redwood City Pulse, the reporter's been reaching out, and she's been wanting, I think they're going to do a story on this. So stay tuned for that. And I'm sure they'll be able to access more information than what I have. So any questions or comments? Okay, so I'll go ahead and move on to the next item, which was the fire captain panel evaluation. So I was very honored to be asked as the representative of Farm Hill, because fires are an issue, fire safety is an issue in our neighborhood, to sit on the panel to evaluate our future fire captains. So I went in, it was on February 24th at the CAB building. It was an all-day event. And the firefighters who had put in for this position, for the promotion, went through a series of scenarios. And we had fire chiefs from all over the Bay Area sit in, and they score the candidates. So it's an outside agency that comes in to do the scoring, but is well-versed in fire science and safety. And the part I sat in on was the community meeting. So in my scenario, they each came in and they gave a presentation on fire safety and fire services in Redwood City. And I have to say, I think we had over a dozen, maybe 14 individuals that we evaluated. And every individual that presented for us, I was thoroughly impressed with their knowledge and how much they cared about the community, and just the level of service and the commitment that they had. So it was eye-opening to me. I've always been a big fan, but it was eye-opening to me to see the extent that the city goes to do these promotions. It's not necessarily John's been here 10 years and John's been doing good and he never calls sick. So John's getting the promotion. It's actually this full evaluation that takes place on many levels. And so that happened in February. And it's my understanding that our top choice was selected for the promotion. And I'm sorry, I don't have the name. They didn't give us names. It was like number 2, number 3. So it was very, no, non-biased. So, and there's a list, the new list now will be effective. I believe it's for 2 years. I could be wrong. Do you know, Darren, how long the new list is valid for?
I'm not sure. I can find that out as well.
It's fine. I think traditionally what they do is they try and build a list so when there's an opening, they can just fill it. And then the list will naturally, get old. And so then they'll redo it with the testing. And so this is the first new list under the new fire chief. So
are most of the applicants from our district, or are there out of town people looking for the job?
So this was all internal. These were all internal candidates. Everyone who's already been with the Redwood City Fire. Good. And most of them had been here at least 10 years. 2 of them lived in town, which is an important quality, because when you live here, you understand the dynamics and the needs of the community. So yeah, they were all internal candidates. Does anyone have any questions about that? Or... No? Okay. All right. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is the situation that is currently happening over at Roosevelt School. As some of you may know, my son recently, he went back to public school during the pandemic, and where we live down here on Edith, our school that we're assigned to is Roosevelt. And so he went back to school, things were going well. We went back onto campus and we discovered that there was a bullying issue there. And so we've been working with the school district and with the school to sort of come up with a plan on how to address this. So I did, when this bullying started happening, when I became aware of it, I was yard duty, I volunteer at the lunchtime. And when this started happening, I started to talk to the kids and ask them, what's going on? And so bullying over at that school seems to be a pretty widespread problem. There's maybe 5 kids in my son's class who were targets of bullying. And when I did some research on it, I found that there had been some previous litigation actually at Roosevelt School involving the principal, and where a student at one point had to get a restraining order against another student to keep them away from them. And the restraining order, for whatever reason, could not be honored or followed in a way that kept the 2 students away from one another. So this is an active issue that's happening down there. And as some of you also may know, I sit as a commissioner on the Juvenile Justice Commission for the county, and Redwood City is way overrepresented in the juvenile hall. 13 of the 19 children in the juvenile hall come from Redwood City, county-wide. So we are way overrepresented. And so when this started to happen, and during one of my visits up at the hall, I spoke to the kids up there, and we talked about bullying, and every one of them mentioned that they had been bullied in school. They mentioned that some of them that had joined gangs, that was one of the reasons that they had joined a gang, was because of the bullying. So this is an ongoing serious issue that definitely needs some awareness brought to it. I think the public needs to know more about it. And I think that we as a community need to do more to address it. I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but I'm fully on board to be involved in whatever way I can. And I'm hoping that maybe by discussing it here tonight, I can get some ideas from each of you and then work from there to see how we can address it, because it's affecting so many children right here. And I think we can do something positive to address it. I'm just not quite sure what that is at this point.
What about the parents?
Well, this is what I've learned is complicated, because when there's an issue with parents, the school cannot give you any information about the parents. You almost have to wait outside and see who comes with that child to make the connection of who the parent is. There's so much confidentiality, and so everything is very separate. It's very difficult to reach from one parent to another parent to connect and sort of work things out, as we may have years ago, where parents would say, hey, we have a problem with our kids, how can we work it out? It's the system is set up much differently. They do offer things like a safety plan. My son was put on a safety plan to where he had to go to the office in the morning, and someone had to watch him during recess. That's how severe the bullying is. They have to put these safety plans in place. And so I've since pulled him out now. He's not going to school there anymore, but there are kids who are still going there, and there are kids. And so I'm not going to let this go. I certainly want to make sure that these kids are okay.
Is Roosevelt one of the bad ones, or is it also affecting other schools?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping that maybe Leslie might be able to share some insight there. My experience, what I know parents at Roy Cloud, and I know parents at Roosevelt, because those are our two neighborhood schools. I know that I haven't read anything about any litigation or any serious history of bullying. But I also know that I also was told by the superintendent that enrollment is declining at Roosevelt. And I have a suspicion that this is one of the big reasons why. Leslie, could you share, do you know if this is an issue at other schools?
I don't think it's I mean, I think that there have been bullying cases across the entire district. But in the most recent years, I think the majority have been at Roosevelt.
Joanna, I just wanted to tell you, a friend of mine through Insight Meditation did a chaplaincy where she taught meditation both at the men's and the women's jail. Okay. And this was for a number of years. She did a weekly program. They have, and it's all volunteer. I don't know if they could do some kind of, volunteer program for the kids at lunch or after school, but I know it really made a difference to a lot of people in the jails. Yeah, I would love to have that information, Gail. Would you mind sending that to me? Anything that we can do, I know the schools have their hands full, so anything that we can do to sort of come with some solutions or some ideas is helpful to get things going, quickly, because I don't think we have much time. Every day that the child is being bullied is a day that affects their self-esteem, their ability to learn. So it's kind of urgent. So thank you. I don't know what the dynamic is at the school per se that would make the bullying such an issue there over other schools. I'm thinking about, okay, I know the kids, there was a lot of changes with like when the schools were shut, like Hawes, and the changes at John Gill. I don't know if that exacerbated an already existing problem. I mean, I just don't know why it's this population that is so impacted. Does anybody have any insight as to why you think that might be?
I don't know either. I've been concerned about the parents of the bullies not being, addressed in some way. I get the impression that the administration just doesn't want to deal with it so much. But I don't have any personal experience with bullying. Our kids have been lucky and they have not been through it. Yeah.
I would think that actual litigation or the threat of more litigation should spur the principal into more action and being more attentive to the day-to-day problems, and maybe watch the kids in the schoolyard and watch them in the hallways. I certainly don't know the answer.
Yeah, I agree. I was surprised to find the litigation. I would have thought that would have been enough of a wake-up call to do that. So I will certainly keep you posted, and thank you, Gail, for your input, and Leslie for sharing what you know. And I'll certainly keep you posted, because we've got a lot of kids down there who are counting on us to help them through this difficulty. So, okay, the next thing happening over at Roosevelt is, and I think it's happening district wide. I just happen to be on the committee at Roosevelt for the healthy meal. So as some of you may know, during COVID, we switched over, I think it's during COVID, we switched over to where now all the kids receive a free lunch. Everybody gets fed. And so it's a standard meal. It's, in my opinion, it's a healthy meal. It may not necessarily be the most appetizing meal, but for example, they may have a hamburger and some fruit, maybe some carrots, some chocolate milk. That's kind of what the meal looks like. And when I was doing yard duty at lunchtime, I didn't see much waste. And some days the choices seemed pretty stark. So I was a bit surprised when I heard that there was a movement underway to get rid of the chocolate milk. There's actually a movement underway for this. So I joined the committee because I thought, well, this is interesting because, you know, food insecurity is an issue at Roosevelt for students. And chocolate milk is really, in my opinion, not that harmful. But I did have a mother tell me that would I think the same way if it was cocaine? And I was like, okay, so they're taking this very serious. So anyway, so our position so far has been that we can understand if they want to take the juice away for the sugar, but not necessarily, you know, the chocolate milk. So they're doing a survey right now, and I can drop the link in the chat for anyone who wants to fill it out about what their thoughts are. The goal is they want to reduce sugar and calories, but I'm afraid that they may be taking away some of the things that the kids enjoy most. I mean, to take away chocolate milk when your options are limited. So it's important.
Would be devastated by that. They would hate that. They both go to work out and the chocolate milk, as they highlighted there. You know, we don't have it at home.
I believe there's no chocolate milk at Kennedy.
Is there none?
No.
Like I would say it when I did yard duty, over 90% of the kids did the chocolate milk. Like nobody had the regular milk. So it was considered a treat for sure.
Yeah, right.
So I understand that the goal is to be healthy, but I think sometimes things can get a little carried away. So anyway, so I'll drop that link in the chat and you'll hear a lot about it. I don't know. I think this began over at the Mandarin Immersion School. And I know that they're also looking to work with the current contractor who provides the meals to see if they might make them more appetizing. For instance, make it healthier by, if there's a hamburger, instead of just having a bun and meat, to maybe add some lettuce or tomato or something, some sort of a fresh vegetable with that. So you'll hear a lot about this healthy meals. I think it's called Healthy Meals Coalition. Is that right, Leslie? The Healthy Meals Coalition. And it right now it's each individual school is taking on having a site leader and working on it that way. So
coalition leaders have been meeting with the Child Nutrition Services team regularly as well to discuss these things.
Yeah. So it's I would imagine that there should be something by the end of the year. From what I understand, the survey is good until the 11th of April, and then there should be some sort of a decision by the end of the year. I know in Vacaville they did this, and Channel 2 News did a story on them. The kids made signs and they demonstrated that they wanted their chocolate milk back. So it was a civics lesson if it was anything, right? So that was good. Okay, so does anyone have any questions about what's happening with healthy meals or anything like that?
One question, are they given milk with their meals, or do they take it as they go through the line? And at the end of the lunch period, how much regular milk is thrown in the garbage if they are handed a milk?
That's a good question. So from what I saw is that the kids choose their milk, and I didn't see very much waste at all. I mean, I didn't see much waste at all. Now, I know there have been times that the milk's been expired. And I think that just could be that there's so much accumulating of the regular milk, right? There's a large amount accumulating, but it's at Roosevelt anyway, they choose which milk that they want. So the waste is minimal on that end anyway.
Do you know if chocolate milk is also an option for breakfast? Because I know Roosevelt serves breakfast to their students. So what are the drink options?
I don't know what the drink options are. I know they just changed like we used to do these like honey buns and like pastries, and they got rid of that. So I'd be surprised if they got rid of both. But that's something I can certainly find out. I guess the way that the federal government decides what the nutrition guidelines are is, for instance, juice is considered a fruit. And so the committee wants to change, instead of the juice, to do the fruit, which makes sense. And I guess a serving of chocolate milk is considered a serving of dairy. And so, you know, some of the FDA guidelines though for food are kind of outdated, I think, you know. They use the same at the juvenile hall for the kids for what they eat. It's like the whole country just looks to this one document and everybody follows it, but I'm not sure if it's the best document to follow. So
I know those cinnamon buns are sorely missed at my son's school. But I also know that they have something like 37 grams of fat in them. So
yeah, they were. I mean, I could totally see where someone might say, you know, that's totally unhealthy. You know, yeah, I could totally get that. When I found out how much was in that, I was like, oh, but it just took some getting used to. I didn't, you know, we have so many, these kids are such good kids. What my interaction with them has, they're pleasant, they're polite, they're kind, they're sweet. I've really enjoyed spending time with them. I've really enjoyed that. Okay, so the next thing up, we're moving right along. This might be the first time we've ever been on time. So retail cannabis. So on the 28th of March, our city manager issued 4 permits for retail cannabis stores in Redwood City. 3 are located on Broadway and 1 is on Whipple. So they are the Juva Retail, 2300 block of Broadway, Responsible and Compliant Retail, 1870 Broadway, Runaway Services Inc., 928 Whipple, and MMD Redwood City Inc., located 1700 block of Broadway. So I know these are, I have the press release. I know these are to be large stores, and I know that it is anticipated that they're going to bring in a considerable amount of tax revenue.
Yeah, I think the 928 Whipple, that's the Any Mountain store.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that that neighborhood association is not pleased because nobody reached out to them to tell them that was going to happen. And that's the Centennial neighborhood, I think. And they already have a lot of issues down there with traffic and the Chick-fil-A. It's dangerous down there.
It is so dangerous. You know?
Yeah. So anyway, so that is, I can read if anyone has any questions about like what the rules are for these places or the parameters. I have the press release here and I can also drop it in the chat if anybody is interested. I do not know the date when they will open, but now that the permits are issued, I would imagine they're probably in there restructuring their space and probably will be open by summertime.
I have one question. Is there no requirement that the local residents be notified that that's coming?
Well, I think that there was a process, but I don't know. There was a news article written about this in January. And there was the news article focused on that there was some gaps in the process that didn't get filled, and it left residents feeling as though they didn't have all the information they needed. And I can also put that link for the article too. So I would have thought, I know that some of the businesses I had heard were reaching out to people in the community to sort of garner their support, you know, to say, we're coming in and what is I know that one of them like reached out to the Police Activities League and to the Sheriff's Activity League, and we're moving in, and how can we support your programs, and can we donate, or how can we be good community members? Because they're certainly going to be making a lot of money. There's a lot of money to be made in this. So according to this, it's just the standard. It says, in addition to providing additional revenue, it says all cannabis storefront retail businesses are required to fund 4% general tax on gross receipts, in addition to the state's 15% tax and the city's 10% sales tax. So that's a lot of tax. And
is that the same as other businesses?
No, there's special. Yes. Darren, do you want to share any information on retail cannabis, that if you know about the differences in the tax rates or anything like that?
What I know is that, as you said, like they have the state tax and then the local tax, and then also there's the Redwood City tax that we're putting on there. And then there's also the requirement to give a certain amount of donations per year, and also a certain amount of community service that's required as well. So that wraps into the community development aspect of it. That's a big part.
I think they also had to commit to doing drug prevention education efforts.
I'm sorry, I missed the beginning of that, Leslie. I'm sorry.
I think that it was also part of their requirement to do prevention programs in local schools for drugs, and educating the students about not drugs.
Yeah, that's very important, especially with what's happening with the fentanyl now. That young man in Los Altos, a high school student who thought he was using cocaine at a party, and turned out it was fentanyl, and it cost him his life. And unfortunately, that's what's happening. And so, I think those programs are desperately needed to just make the kids aware that how dangerous things can get. So any other questions about this? I would imagine that Whipple's going to be a mess for a while. I mean, with all this traffic, there's only one other place that I'm aware of in San Mateo County, and only one other city, and that is Pacifica, I believe, that has a retail storefront. So we're talking about, the most northern part of the county and the most southern part of the county. So people will be coming here, from.
But you can get there, if it's any mountain, you can get there from Aguelo. Rooster and Aguelo, you don't have to go Whipple.
True. I would imagine that most people
won't know how to get there, let me tell you.
Yeah, and they'd probably be coming from other cities, and
right.
And have we, as the city manager, Darren, suggested where this taxes will go? Is it just going to go earmarked for the general fund, or has she given any indication that she wants this to go, let's say, to fire or police or prevention programs for kids? Or
yeah, from what I know, we're expected to generate between 500 and 750,000 a year in revenue from this, and that would be used to fund city services. So it could be a broad range of things, but generally city services.
So that could be anything from basically anything.
Yeah, pretty much general fund.
Okay. All right. So any other questions or comments or thoughts on that?
One question. So the storefront in Pacifica, and then these four storefronts in Redwood City, is that going to be the whole peninsula coverage of these kinds of businesses? Are there other towns that have them?
Well, I from what I understand now, it's just Pacifica and Redwood City, but I think that other cities, with the pandemic, I think people are looking at how to raise resources and taxes. And so I believe there may be more that will come on board in the future, but as of right now, we're the only two. There are delivery services. I don't know what those entail. I don't know what those taxes are. And I don't think they're local from San Mateo County, but I could be wrong. I think they're like Santa Clara County or maybe San Francisco County.
Got it.
So I think we're sort of we're sort of one of the first to go.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we're going to be, Cannabis Central for the peninsula.
Yeah, I wonder, because we already are essential for so many things. We have the jail, we have the probation, we have all of the big services, Social Security and DMV. I mean, we are like this hub for a lot of things. So yeah, I wonder that as well. Okay, so if there's no further questions on that, the people's budget submissions were all submitted, and I'm really excited about the people's budget. The people's budget was the $1 million that the city set aside and said, okay, residents, if you had $1 million and you could improve your community, how would you spend it? What would you do? And so I brought this idea to my confirmation students. I have 102 confirmation students. And so we couldn't do a service project because of COVID, we couldn't go. So we brainstormed all these wonderful ideas, how we can help the community. And I was pleased to see that, I want to say maybe like 34 of their ideas, 35 of their ideas were actually made it through as eligible ideas. So yes, and they were so creative, like talking about having charging stations for people who ride mobility scooters downtown. Like, these were really thoughtful considerations that the kids did. So voting is open. Let me see if I hit the link, if I can get it to come up. So voting is open right now until May 9th. I don't think there's a limit. Is there a limit in how many times you can vote, Darren?
Yeah,
Okay.
You can only vote one time.
Okay, so here's the form here. So I'll share the link, and then so you give your name and your contact information. And you just share if you live, work, or what have you. And then let's see if it'll let me open it without it. I haven't voted yet, but let's see.
You probably have to put in a little like.
You have to enter.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know.
If you push next, it'll flash red, and then it's easier to get on.
I wonder.
Push next.
I think there's something wrong with my computer. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah. So what I was hoping to do was to show you the ideas that were on there. But I think there's almost 100. Is there like almost 100, Darren, final ideas?
Oh yeah, there's a yeah.
And they focus on, there's everything from safety programs. Yeah, something is going on with my screen. Everything from safety programs to housing, to parks, to adding, more barbecues in parks, more restrooms in parks, refillable water stations. So there's all kinds of great ideas, and you get to vote for your top 7. And so I'm really excited to see what we choose. And I think that it doesn't necessarily just have to be one final project for $1 million, right, Darren? It can be, let's say there's 4 projects that will be 250,000. All 4 can be selected as long as it's not over the $1 million.
Right.
So, so please, I encourage you to take a look at that list and see, because they're really worthwhile projects. And I'm hoping that the city will continue to do this program, because it gets people thinking about what we need, and it gets people thinking about ways we can help. And those are always 2 things that, make our community a better place to be.
I'll just mention that I have one on there.
Oh, okay.
It's under the green section, and okay. It's for stickers to be put on water heaters. It's a pilot program, and it doesn't cost very much money. So what happens is, I'm a member of Fossil Free, and we're trying to help people move away from gas and fossil appliances and get to electric. So this sticker would, normally water heaters last like 10 to 12 years. And when it goes out, people have to immediately replace it. So this would give people information. They could go to websites, they could find out about rebates, and it would give them more information so that when they are ready to get a new water heater, they have some options, and maybe they would go electric. So it's a really small amount of money. I went to a meeting last night, and I got a lot of my questions answered. So if, say, this is rank order voting, if people understand how that works. If the most popular item was for $1 million, then nothing else would get funded. But if the first was, say, 200,000, and the next, you might notice there's a big range in some of them. So say the next one was 500 to $1 million. Well, already they've spent 200,000. So then they could, you know, depending on the item, they would do less. So I would just think it would be great if we could get a lot of the little projects in and kind of spread it out instead of one big project. But that's kind of, you know, we'll see where it goes, and hopefully this will be, will inspire people to push for additional items. The one thing they said is the city council actually has some input on the final selections. And anybody can vote, even if they're not from Redwood City. So that sort of surprised me, but they wanted it to be more open. But say there was like some item, there were a whole lot of votes, but not from Redwood City residents. The council might consider that in the final vote. So, I mean, it seems like there's a lot of strategy and there's a lot of things still to be determined because it is a pilot program, but I hope you vote green.
Thank you, Gail, for sharing that. I'm so excited. I'm going to put that up on our Farm Hill website about that, to just share the word about the stickers, because I think that's a great idea. And I'm excited for you and your idea. And I hope that it's one that gets chosen. Yeah, that's awesome. So does anyone have any other questions or information? Or Darren, do you want to add anything about people's budget? Did I miss anything?
Let me think. Yeah, I would just say if everyone can share whatever posts, or if you need a graphic or anything, I can send that over too, just to get the word out as much as possible, because we want to have as much participation as we can. So any type of word you can get out to your friends or family, that will help a lot.
And it's fun, right? If you have kids or grandkids, to sit down and say, hey, what would help us? What would we pick? What would you choose? It gets them thinking. When kids feel like their voice is heard and that they have input that makes a difference, it sets them on that track to keep doing that, into adulthood. Like, people will listen and I can make a difference. So,
yeah.
Okay.
And we actually had 13% of our ideas were from people under 18. So that's a good amount.
That's fantastic. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So next up will be Darren. I'm sure he has some ideas and updates for us as far as what's going on with the city. I just wanted to mention that city council meetings will resume in person starting on April 11th, and they are going to continue with the virtual format as well. So I think that's like the best of both worlds, because if you need to get down there and organize with people and want to talk face to face, it's an option. But then if you have kids and you don't have a babysitter, or you are waiting, you're helping your parents, or then you could still log in and still be there to participate. So Darren, would you like to share what else is going on down at City Hall?
Yes, thank you. So actually that was my first update. You got it right. The city council meetings are transitioning beginning April 11th. So we're going to conduct them in a hybrid format, offering both in-person and virtual for the public to attend. You can continue to watch it online as well. Also, we'll be broadcasting them on Channel 26, Astound Broadband Cable, Comcast Cable Channel 27, AT&T Uverse Channel 99, also streaming on the city's website at redwoodcity.org. And also you can join the Zoom call by visiting redwoodcity.zoom.us. And the meeting ID that you'll need for the Zoom call is always found on the agenda. And then I can let you know that members of the public will be able to attend city council meetings in person, following seating capacity limits. and will be maintaining social distance to protect health and safety, and masks will be strongly encouraged for all in-person attendees. I have another quick update on the ADA transition plan. The City Council will hold a study session on ADA self-evaluation and transition plan on Monday, April 11th, where staff will present how they are prioritizing the removal of barriers, equity impacts on low-income communities and communities of color, available funding sources, age of infrastructure, and more. City staff have already removed some of the barriers identified and will remove all identified non-physical barriers by the end of the year. And again, that'll be talked more about on the study session this upcoming Monday, April 11th. And then another update is for the, it's a budget update. So fiscal year 22 to 23 budget update capital improvement program. With budget season upon us, a city council study session for the fiscal year 22 to 23 capital improvement program, or CIP, and 5-year capital improvement program will be held again Monday, April 11th. The CIP is a valuable resource to achieving large-scale maintenance and improvements to public infrastructure and community services. The CIP also advances the city's strategic plan through capital projects that align with the City Council strategic priorities and guiding principles. And the next study session will be on May 9th and will include talks on the Community Development Block Grant / Home Grant. So those are some quick updates. Also, I know that you all wanted an update on the street sweeping schedule. And that's something that I'm still working on, and I can follow up with an email to get you an answer on that.
Oh, Johanna, you're muted.
Thank you very much. It was getting loud over here, so I wanted to do myself. Okay, so yes, I have the, thank you, Darren. I appreciate those updates. And I do have some information about street sweeping that we'll get to in just a moment, but I think that the information is still outdated. And I know that it's been very difficult to actually pinpoint when they're coming and how often they're coming and where they're coming. And this is just, it's been an ongoing
issue. They don't follow their schedules. They're supposed to come every other Wednesday to our neighborhood, and sometimes they go like 2-3 weeks without coming. And we have one of those large driveway bumper things that we have to, because we have a low, what's it called? The car is too low.
Low profile car
that scratches on our regular driveway. So we have this 350-pound driveway ramp thing, yeah. That we physically move every other Tuesday, that they'll sweep, and they don't always sweep, or they'll come after we have to move it back because we have to drive our cars. So yeah, just really.
And I guess I was wondering, and this is not that we solve it here, but you know, obviously you go up to San Francisco and all the streets are labeled like when the street cleaning's coming, right? You know, if you park there, you're gonna get towed. I'm not saying that we tow all the cars in Redwood City, but I mean, if there was a signage for people to understand when those are happening, I think people would move their cars on a better frequency. Right now, you know, you hear the truck coming down the street, and you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna need to go out and move my car, because there's a lot of people that park on the street in Redwood City. So, you know, I don't know if that could also be something that gets at least kind of escalated through Darren, you know, saying, hey, you know, have we thought about labeling when street cleaning is going to happen, and not saying that we need to have it on every telephone pole, but having something where there's a little bit more understanding of what the street cleaning schedule is. Not that this is a huge issue, but I think, I know that there's a large effort in Redwood City and others that, you know, trying to keep the streets clean, trying to keep debris off, trying to prevent, you know, debris going into the bay because of that. And so, you know, if we're not actively trying to help that situation and they just bypass cars and they're not really sweeping the streets, it's, you know, it defeats the purpose of that. And so then the question is what is that service providing that Redwood City is paying for and the taxpayers are paying for. So
I agree completely. And you're on a very busy street, so I would imagine you get a lot of trash and a lot of, and so it accumulates, I would imagine, quite quickly. And I empathize exactly. I mean, we're a much smaller street down here, but the same thing, you listen, oh, they're coming, and you're like, darn it, I missed it, because you want it to be clean, you want to participate, but it's hard to participate if you don't know. I know years ago, when I was talking to Diane Howard about this, and she mentioned that Redwood City residents would never go for something like, mandatory street sweeping, that, they don't like to be told what to do, and they'd never go for that. So I get that we maybe don't want to penalize people or be punitive and give tickets and things like that for street sweeping. But I think that we should be doing it, like James said, we should be doing the street sweeping, and we should be letting folks know. And even if we start on signs, let's say on the biggest streets, let's say if we start on Jefferson, Farm Hill, Alameda, the ones that people will see and get oh, there's a street sign, there's street sweeping, as we incorporate them through the city. I can't imagine that costs that much money, considering the time and waste and confusion that's happening right now in the city surrounding this.
Well, I think also it depends on, the public utilities staffing to be able to meet their own schedules. They post these schedules, but they can't meet them. So
yeah, let's take a look now. So let's, so here's what it looks like. Here's what's on the website. So let's say if we're looking at April, move this out of the way. So, so according to this, then Redwood Village and Edgewood Park should have been cleaned today. And
when Farm Hill 1B, and they came yesterday, but they actually came twice. Yeah. First, they came super early in the morning, and our neighbor, their son parks out on the street, and so we can see how they sweep the street because the water leaves a line. And so you could see that they went around his car and then just went straight down the street. So they didn't curve back into our curb, which was completely clear. Then I left at 10:30 to go run errands, and I put the Bridget thing back, only to have him text me that at 11 they came back.
How strange.
Yeah. And then swept our
maybe somebody complained.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe, huh? That's a good point.
And we don't need to belabor this too much, but I think, knowing the schedule, having it posted, and then having consistency, I would love to know, hey, on Tuesday night, I need to park my cars in the driveway so I'm off the street so that the street cleaner can come through. And that would be great if, the consistency of that. The other thing I wanted to say real quick was, I've gotten the nastygram from the garbage people whenever they pick it up if I overfill the garbage can and stuff. And they take time to label it saying, if you do this again, we're not picking your trash up, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know why we couldn't do something similar to that. Not saying that, we want to penalize people, but saying, hey, you left a car on the street. We weren't able to clean it. Please think about this next time, and here's the schedule or whatever it is, right? And so it would help educate people and not be punitive, but at least be, educational around that. So that's all. I'll stop talking.
You could also talk to your neighbors. I do that. If I know that Fridays is our schedule and my neighbor has the car in front, I'll go over there and tell them, can you move your car to the other side? Because one side gets more leaves than the other. My side gets more leaves. On top of it, I have the stupid curb in front of my house where the street sweeper can't make it. So I brush everything out into the street. Except the girl that was driving the sweeper before, she was very nice. She backed up and tried really hard. So I just go to the neighbors and say, move your car.
Yeah.
So I actually think that this is a project that the neighborhood association could take on and actually could get some traction on. Is everyone in support of me moving forward on that? Like, actually making it an issue, consistently going to council, consistently saying we need this done, and like not letting up until we get something done about it. What do you all think?
Yeah, I agree. And it's also not just like we need this done, it's like, what can we do to help?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
We want to support the city. There's services that are being provided. We don't want the services essentially to go to waste if they're not fulfilling that service requirement. I've called the city for garbage when they haven't picked up garbage, right? They bypassed my house and they had to come back out. I'm like, hey, I'm paying for the service. I need you to actually pick up the garbage when it's garbage time, right? So
yeah, I think there's a good possibility that we can get this fixed. So Darren's going to be our messenger, and then we'll be going back and forth, I'm sure, on ways that we can get this taken care of.
Yeah.
All right.
Let them know this is on the radar.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Any other questions about street sweeping or the schedule or anything like that? Okay, so Chris is in another meeting, so I thought John O'Hara would be here to do the Downtown Streets Team event, but I'll make the announcement. So the Downtown Streets Team is hosting their first big fundraiser, and it's going to be at the Fox Theater, and it's going to be like a concert and a silent auction, and that is going to take place on June 25th, and I'll be posting that information up on our website and on social media. And they're looking to raise funds so they want to buy a van to accommodate the workers. And I know that they want to expand programming. So that would be where the funds would go. And so this is their first big fundraising event or while we're in COVID. And I'm hoping that it'll be a big success. I believe tickets are relatively inexpensive. And if you're interested, I will send you the information on that. The next thing I wanted to announce is the Sequoia Scholarship Award winners. Farm Hill had 2 recipients of the Sequoia Awards this year, Erica Rolfs and Claire Manuel. And we can pull up the website here. I think that every year Sequoia Awards gives out a significant amount of money to our local teens for college. And I think it's fantastic. It's a fantastic service they do. And I think it's wonderful now that they're notifying the neighborhood associations to let us know who in our neighborhood is receiving these funds and who are they and how this is helping them. So let's see if we can find here. So Woodside High School, So Woodside High School, it looks like one of the recipients goes to Woodside High School. And there's both of them. It looks like the Lori and Dennis, they were honored. The funding came from the Lori and Dennis McBride and Danford Fishing and Hanning Foundation. So that's Lori and Dennis have been part of the school district for many years. I used to serve on the PTA at Kennedy with Lori McBride, 25 years ago. So anyway, this is our local students who are doing well and that. And so our next announcement has to do with the parade, and we have our parade chairperson here with us. So I'm gonna allow Regina to share the news about what's happening with the parade.
Okay, the parade and festival is back again. We're in the planning stages. We still are looking for parade entries like a marching band or a float or anything that would be of interest to the public. And we have the Downtown Festival. And I want to stress again that it is not the city that is doing the 4th of July parade, but the Peninsula Celebration Association. So the parade route will be the same. We might have less units because the Shriners are getting older. Other groups are dropping out because of older members not being able to make that route for an hour. And the festival will be on Middlefield is the food court. Jefferson has the arts and crafts people. On Broadway, we will have the nonprofits. And due to not having had it for 2 years and every organization is having hardship, if you have a nonprofit organization that would like to participate in the downtown festival, please contact us. We are not charging anything this year. You can set up your booths. You can give out information about your organization. You cannot sell anything, but you can give out the information so people are aware of what your club does. So if anybody's interested, they can go on to parade.org, or they can call the Peninsula Celebration Office and find out more. We also need volunteers during the 4th of July because we'd like to make sure that the public is safe. So we would need monitors to stand on certain intersections to make sure that people are not crossing when the horses are coming or things like that. So again, you can go onto our website and leave a message, or you can call our office at 365-1825 and leave a message and we'll get back to you. I've been doing this for 30 years and I'm not giving up.
We are so grateful that you have done this for 30 years, and we feel so lucky that you're part of Farm Hill because we get the first scoop on everything that
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, when I first came to Redwood City in 1970, we had floats with real flowers on them. They came from Gilroy on Seaside, and we had so many horses. But because people are getting older and transportation costs are enormous, the Irish Folk Festival is not participating anymore because it doesn't pay for them, you know? And bands, the same thing. The school bands, because school is out during July, we can get a school band. Woodside has a school band. We could use them, but we can't get them because the teacher can't get enough students together. So we're really grateful for the city to always supporting us in this by giving us the streets, by giving us fire protection and police protection. And we would like to work with the city on a continuous basis to make sure that everybody is safe. The chalk people will be on the Courthouse Square again. And this year we're not going to have the Battle of the Bands because UC Davis hasn't responded. So instead of the family chalk craft being on Hamilton, it will be on Hamilton, but from Broadway to Marshall. So basically right next to Courthouse Square.
That's fantastic. Does anyone have any questions for Regina about the parade? No, I'm really excited. I find some of my best things at 4th of July shopping there. The kids look forward to it. You get to see everybody that you haven't seen since the last parade. I mean, it's a lot of fun.
And this year I'm trying to get an ice cream truck, the soft cone guy. He didn't make it 2 years ago because he came too late and all the streets were blocked already. So I couldn't get him into the festival area.
Is that Mr. Softy?
Yep.
Yeah, everybody loves him.
Yeah.
Super popular.
He's popular. But, you know, he has different trucks and different drivers. So the guy, you know, didn't know where he was going. So he came so late, I couldn't get him into the food area anymore because the parade was going on already.
Yeah. Do you know if the firemen are going to be doing the pancake breakfast?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's good. That's great.
And the Police Activity League is also doing a group. They have Zumba and all kinds of different things going on. But I need to talk to them because he suggested that when the Zumba group is going by, that people could follow them. That's a big no-no. You don't follow any unit. You stay on the sides, you know, because that would be a mess if all of a sudden somebody decides to join the group. So
yes, I can see that would be.
That's about it. If you have any questions, just go online and check out the website. It's parade.org. And if you're interested in participating as a nonprofit, just give us a call and we'll set up, all you have to do is bring a table and 2 chairs and a little pop-up to stay out of the sun.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Regina. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And then the last announcement that I had was that the registration for Redwood City Park and Rec Summer Camp is officially open. So they're accepting registration for Redwood City residents. And then I believe it will be later in the month when it opens up to outside residents. But right now, those those coveted spots are open. If you know anyone who's looking for childcare or camp for their child over the summer, grandchild, a child, or neighbor, it's open. And I've heard all kinds of great things about the program. And I know my daughter's going to be working there. So,
well, some of those classes are filled up already. So if people are interested in it, they got to do it right away.
Yeah.
Don't wait too long.
It's very, very popular.
Yeah.
So, okay. So then where that brings us now, and even a little bit earlier, I'm going to stop the sharing my screen. It brings us just to the open forum to talk about anything that hasn't been addressed already. If there's anything or an issue or something you want to share, Gail.
I just have a question. I know we're not getting a huge turnout at our meetings, which is very sad because it's only every 2 months. But how many do you have subscribers to that you're sending out the link to? So at least people are getting to read the minutes and find out what's happening.
Yes. So what I do is, so we record the meeting, so then it gets posted up on YouTube and on our website, so anyone can go and watch it. So while we don't have a lot of people usually attending the meetings, we do get quite a few views. Where people when they do have time to join us, they do. And so we have about, to answer your question, we have about 400 residents who have subscribed to the website, where they sign up, put their email in, and then I do a blog post. Whenever there's something big happening in the city, we have a meeting, something's coming before council, something that people should know about, then I'll write a blog post, and that goes out to everybody that subscribes. And so, and then I will also post meeting information on Nextdoor and Facebook and wherever, and it's also, I think the city puts it on their website as well. I'm not sure how much traffic that gets, but I'm always running across people who don't know that we exist and sharing that we do exist and inviting people to join us. So I hope, I think we've, since I started doing this, what has it probably been 3 years, maybe it's even 4 years, COVID sort of changes time. I think we've really expanded our not only our reach, but our impact. Like, we've gotten some things done, so I think that's good. But we're always trying anything you can do to share that we exist. People have been here 50 years and didn't even know about neighborhood associations in general. So that's how it's happening so far. Anyone else have something to share?
I've got a little something that's been bugging me for a long time, and I've sent 2 letters to the city about it, and maybe they're not reaching the right people. I'd love to get that little roundabout removed on, I think it's, maybe you can help me with the intersection. It's Dover and what is it? The one you had down around the corner. Just consists of a couple of sawhorses and a sign.
Why do you want to have?
There's no reason for it to be.
Why do you want to have?
Because there's no reason for it. There's no reason for it. It was put up there years ago or requested years ago by the woman that lived near the corner there, so her kids could play out in the street all the time.
That was not the only reason.
I think that, as far as I know, that was it.
No. Because people come too fast around the corner. They take a shortcut through the side streets, and by the time they get to my house, they're speeding like crazy. I have to really watch when I come out of my driveway, because they don't even watch the stop sign or anything. I think it slows down the traffic with that thing being there.
I don't know.
When they first came out, the fire truck had to make the turns through there. The ambulance had to make the turns through there. And it really asked the people that live in that area. It wasn't just Susan that wanted it. I wanted it too. It wasn't just her.
I still disagree. I think it's useless, and it's a block away from Crompton. It's not near our street. It may slow down the traffic. I think all it does is provide an obstruction, and I bypass it every day. I go down an extra block before I turn onto Jefferson. And I know the city has never answered my requests. I don't know if I'm not getting to the right people or not.
Well, I can give you sort of an update. Remember when they sent out the survey about safe streets and all that? She was going to look into that, because what I told her was, unfortunately in Farm Hill, it seems like they start pilots and they start things, but they never come back and finish it. So we still have the Farm Hill diet. That's, how much, what has it been, 10 years? And we're not, back on that yet. So as far as it goes with the roundabout, it was supposed to be temporary to see if it did have an impact, and positive or negative, they were going to come back and then put something more permanent, more structurally sound, if that's indeed what the residents wanted. But unfortunately, what was set up as a temporary solution is just languishing there. And I've asked repeatedly, regardless of which way they go with it, there has to be some sort of formal thing. I mean, it's that was the plan, right? The plan was, let's try it and then put something that's more sturdy in there. So if, like Regina says, she wants it and she wants it to stay, then it should be something that's functionally sound and secure. Or if it goes away like Jerry wants, then then that would be up to the neighborhood to say. But what's happening is it's like just languishes in the state of nowhere, and that happens a lot. And I don't know if it's because of staffing or because it's not for a lack of us asking.
No, it could be removed in about 5 minutes. That would be all it would take, because it's only some sawhorses. And I will go with whatever decision the city traffic engineers decide. If they think that it's valid and does help the flow of traffic without hindering it too much, then that's fine. But I really don't think it does.
Well, I'll agree with whatever the city decides, but roundabouts in Germany are very, very popular, and it does slow down the traffic down. I mean, if you have ever driven in Germany or Austria or any of those places, they have roundabouts everywhere because of traffic problems.
Yeah, we've got them down on Vera. That's fine. That's designed for it. But this thing is just a couple of sawhorses and a sign.
Well, I put them up when they fall down. I stand them up when they fall down. It's only because somebody.
It's really not structurally sound, And I know, Regina, you're always so kind to like pick up all the slack, but I think they should make some sort of an effort to do one thing or the other. Like,
right, because
you can't just leave us hanging like this all the time on everything.
When we took down the slow street signs up on Jefferson, on the Alameda in Crompton, everything was fine for a few days. And now the traffic is the same thing again. They come to my house and then they make a left-hand turn, just so they don't have to make the traffic light at Alameda. That is constant. If I had small children in my house, I would worry every day. Yeah. It's a constant battle with. I see the same cars doing it every day at 4 o'clock.
And animals also on the street. Yeah. There are a lot of cats in the neighborhood, and once in a while,
and then we have the deer roaming the streets. If
and the kids from Roosevelt
live in my neighborhood, don't come into my neighborhood. If you want to go to Farm Hill or to Canyon, and you're taking my street as a shortcut, I wait until there's an accident at the corner of Dover and Jefferson. That's what's going to happen.
I know we've had some serious accidents already.
Right.
Yeah.
So Johanna, do we want to maybe ask Darren and others, can we have maybe some representation come to these meetings to ask some questions, kind of pointed questions? Because if the sending letters and we're not getting any responses, it would be good to have a face-to-face, right? Air our concerns. What is the process? How do we get, resolution on these things? So maybe that's a request. Could we have the traffic cops or whatever, the traffic safety representatives come and, we don't have to have them for the whole meeting, but, we might have, pepper them with a couple of questions. Here's some concerns that we have. Here's some issues. How do we get those resolved? What is the process? can you help us do this? You know, those things, and be more community engaged in that process.
That's a great idea. We had the lady, and her name is escaping me, and it's a difficult name as well, but I think she worked. Yes, she came in the summertime and talked to us, but there's been no follow-up since then. So maybe we can have her come back and do the follow-up and tell us, you know, what's going on there. And then I can also see about getting someone to come talk to us about the street sweeping as well. Mm-hmm. And then, so those will be our two folks from the city, if everyone is interested for our next meeting in June. Does that sound like, is there anything else you want to see in June? Anything else you'd like me to?
I don't want to load up June too much, but another thing that I would like is, I think we did have somebody from like Public Works, just kind of infrastructure, those things. And obviously traffic is going to be a different department than kind of general public works, but that would be good too. Like, what's going on? What are the plans? And I think last time we talked about sidewalk repairs and those things, you know, what's the progress on that? I think also there was some discussion a few meetings ago around trying to re-tree the city, putting trees in you know, medians and you know, along the streets, and selecting the right trees. That would be another one. Obviously, we're a little too far into the planting season now. We should have been planting those trees in the wintertime, but you know, things like that. Maybe we could have kind of a schedule of like when we would want to ask some representatives for there. But for Public Works, what I'm kind of trying to key in on would be, I know across the street they did a bunch of work on the sewers, and I don't know if there's a master plan of like, are they moving to other parts of the city to start doing sewer repairs, or some of the old setups where some of the older houses may not have kind of upgraded sewer service. So just those things, you know, and kind of finding out what to do, how to access services, what to, you know, how to engage the city, and if there's repairs needed, those things.
Yeah, I think TK is really good. I think we can ask TK to come, and he's good about knowing all about the programs and all of that. So I will ask each of those. So Jessica Manzi with traffic, I will, because they may be able to cover their section in just 10 minutes, right? And so we can get everything that we need, and then we can then take that information and say, okay, where are we going to go with all this, right? Where are we going to go, you know, with the trees and the street sweeping and, you know, the traffic like that.
I'm sorry. I was going to ask one more question. Are you thinking of having meetings in person?
I am. We lost our space. So we used to do our space at PCC. And when Pastor Todd stopped being the facilities manager, so he was the one who sort of granted us that space. And the reason we don't use a city space is so we can be independent, right? So if I were to use a city space, then I would have to follow the rules, and I would have to be right. And I don't necessarily like to do that. I like to be able to just do what we want to do, right? And not have any restrictions on that. And so we could meet in person in a city space, but we would have to, because there's funding involved with that, we'd have to follow certain parameters. And that may hinder in some ways our ability to affect change, because we have to follow a different set of rules. So, but I would like to meet in person. I mean, there's nothing to say that we couldn't meet. I mean, daylight savings time, the day gets longer, that we couldn't meet outside at the park, right? I mean, that's, you know, under 25 people, it's free. And so we wouldn't, right? So we could do it that way. But it would be nice to see everyone again, because I do miss seeing everybody.
Make use of the amphitheater area at Solfa.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I mean, there's, you know, obviously down at Grid Morton, there's a lot of open area. But I mean, not just the park, right? Just the park. But
yeah, if you just go down with blankets, yeah.
But then there's, you know, there's benches there. There's, you know, where we could utilize something that has restrooms and everything. So
yeah, exactly. And even the kids could play or whatever. It would be really nice to do it that way. Okay, well, does anybody have anything else that they'd like to add or contribute before we're gonna leave 8 minutes early? I don't think that's ever happened.
I want to say welcome, Darren. I think this is the first time that we've seen you. So great to have you part of our meetings, and hopefully we didn't scare you too much with all.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much, Darren. All right, so until next time, thank you so much. Have a great evening, and it was good to see you.
Okay.
Thank
Right,
you.
Bye. Good night.